This lesson's about percents and estimations. You're going to learn to estimate by using equivalent fractions, decimals, and percents. So let's say I just went to a restaurant and I just got my bill. I'm not going to use a calculator to try and figure out a tip on this. I'm going to use compatible numbers to try and determine what the tip will be for the waiter. In order to estimate, you're looking for compatible numbers. Compatible numbers are two numbers that are easy to divide mentally. Using compatible numbers, I'm going to try and figure out 15% of 2708. 27 is pretty close to 2708. So I'm going to use that as my compatible number. 10% of $27 is $2.70. And then half of that would be $1.35. So this would be 10% plus 5% for a total of 15%. So for my server, I'm going to leave approximately $4.05. Now I may just round this to $4 if I'm leaving cash. Now let's say my server did a really good job and I want to leave them a little bit more. So instead of using $27, I may round my 27 up to 30, which makes it actually a little easier to figure out for a 15% tip. 10% of 30 is 3, and then half of 3 is $1.50. So I would leave the server $4.50. However, again, if I was using cash, I just might round this up to $5. So let's look at a few more examples. Estimate 19% of 60. The compatible number I want here is 20 for 19, because 19 is a little difficult to compute mentally, and 20% is pretty close to 19. I know 10% of 60 is 6, and when I double that, I get 12. So 20% of 60 is about 12. 25% of 78. Now 25 is pretty easy to do mentally. It's 1/4. 78, a good compatible number for that would be 80. Now all I have to do is take half of 80, which is 40, and then half of 40, which would be my 25%, is 20. So 25% of 78 is approximately 20. 65% of 34. Here I actually want to find compatible numbers for both of them. 65% is pretty close to 66 2/3%. That seems a little complicated, but when I compute it, I'm actually just multiplying by 2/3. 34 is pretty close to 33. So when I try and find the estimate, it's actually going to be 2/3 of 33, which will be 22. 22 out of 60. 60 is a nice even number. 22 is pretty close to 20%. Or just plain 20, not the percent. 20 out of 60, well, that's 1/3. That's going to be 20 over 60. And I reduce that, that's going to be 2/6, and that reduces to 1/3. So it's going to be 33 1/3% if I'm looking for a percent.